Hey y'all, Tasha here at Mind, Body, and Soil, where I garden in my backyard in Zone 6B. If you're new here, thanks for coming over to the channel. I hope that you would like the video, comment down below where you're gardening from, and if you like the content, I hope you would consider subscribing to the channel. If you are returning back, thank you so much for coming back and rocking with your girl and supporting my channel. In this bed here, it does look like it is chaotic gardening, although it is, but it is done with thought in mind. With the varieties of lettuces that I have here, they will soon bolt. And when they do bolt, I do have pepper plants planted here in place so that there is no wasted space of gardening in any of the places in my garden. You also see where I've lined all of my beds this year heavily with onions to help control pest pressure. This particular plant is my bergamot. It is 2 years old. It is a perennial to me. After this season, I will dig this out and put it in another place just so that it doesn't take over this small bed. This matching bed across from it houses some of my brassicas. There are a few cabbages, 2 different varieties. There's also 2 nasturtiums that are to the front of the bed, as well as some of my chives that again are perennial and they did come back. Behind the cabbages are some broccolis. They are beginning to form heads, which I'm showing here. I will harvest them soon. When this bed and the other bed behind it was planted out, there was a huge tree that has been here, and the power company has finally decided to come and cut it down after these beds were planted out. It did create an amount of shade where they should have held up through the season, but now that it's gone, I'm sure that won't happen. To the front of this bed, there is 1 cucumber plant that will trellis up, as well as some bush beans. Once I am ready to pull these brassicas out, after I get some side shoots after taking off the broccoli heads, I will then have some bush beans that will come up. This red Russian kale was overwintered. It did come back, which is why it is going to seed, and I did already pull that out. Here is some dino kale along with sweet pea flowers. And these 3 pots back here is a white roselle and then 2 cranberry roselles. I am growing them throughout the garden. Just want to see what method they best grow in, whether it's pots or in ground, as well as a shaded area and a very sunny area. In these bags here, I have some germinations of a berries, cherry tomato there, and the rest of the pots, have tomatoes and some peppers that I've succession planted on this side of the garden. I will show you the other side where it is tomato row, and they are all in fabric bags. The in-ground garden that we'll see here is now newly made. When that tree company took down the tree, they laid it on this side of my garden, which ruined all my medicinal plants that were over here. So late in the season, to try to recover that space and look somewhat cohesive, I went ahead and made this a melon patch. There are 2 tomato plants there to the back of the fence, and along the front of this is some zucchini plants. There were a lot of my tulips over here just to have kind of a pop of color with those medicinals that were originally here. Now I just went ahead and planted some more tropical flowers in here that are annual to me, just to give it some sort of pop of color and just a nice little vibe. Along the back row here, I did plant some tomato plants as well as seeded some sunflower seeds just to kind of distract the eye from the mess that they did leave behind. Also intertwined are a few more melon plants, and they will be able to just kind of trail out and go and kind of up that hill That was a 2-year-old mullein plant as well as a wild lettuce. I saved what I could after they destroyed this, so I won't get the huge leaves on these plants anymore, but I will have some smaller leaves. At least I'll have something to harvest for my apothecary. With the plants that are coming in are some calendula. Of course, there's comfrey there, a few other perennials that are there that are flowers, and my rosemary. There's also an okra plant back there, as well as a few pepper plants. Having that much open space after I did the cleanup, I decided to see what will grow. And of course, my sunflowers are there as well. This is the bed across from the other that we looked at. Also houses some brassicas. There are some Brussels sprouts and a few varieties of kale. We'll see how they do now that that tree is gone and it does have some sun. The matching bed to that has a tomato on the outside and then a tomato on the opposite side with basil in the middle. It does follow that same concept all the way down, just different varieties of tomatoes as well as different varieties of basil. Here's also my sweet pea. That is the first sweet pea that I'm seeing of the season. Although yes, it is June, the weather has been pretty iffy. We've had a few cold snaps. The outside of that wooden trellis there are a few varieties of cucumbers. For this bed, it also houses my collards and 2 pink celery plants that I've seeded, as well as a mustard plant. In the middle of that is comfrey, as well as some chervil that I did harvest way down because it was huge. Those leaves in the comfrey are extremely big. Since this video, I have harvested those and put those over in my buckets of fertilizer. That is how I fertilize my plants, is with comfrey, which is why I have so much. There is also 1 pepper plant and 1 tomato plant in there as well. Over here on the edge of that medicinal bed, I do have zucchini as well as a bush scallop squash. So I do have a couple of zucchinis here, and so far the vine borer has not taken it out, but it does have some powdery mildew. There's also a mustard plant there, and this morning I did notice that female flower opened up, and there wasn't a male flower anywhere opened up in sight for me to hand pollinate it. There's some yarrow that's opening up, as well as mugwort and another comfrey plant. And here is some of my Jimi Hendrix poppies that are growing well, as well as my collards and sunflowers to the back. Along that edge are a few bush variety of scallop squashes. They're doing pretty good. And my purple tomatillos are bunched here with my sunflowers to the back of that fence. And it does go all the way down to the edge of that fence. Here in the front are some new fruits to me that I seeded this year. They were just called rare fruits. There was a red fruit, a black fruit, a green fruit. They grew really well. Germination was 100%. They look amazing. I am noticing some heavy pest pressure on all of the leaves here. Lots of flowers. So far I haven't seen any fruit, so I am keeping my eye on this area. Behind it is my anise hyssop that is perennial, so it's pretty tall. Moving into this area, there is a nasturtium as well as some orange and burgundy okra, as well as a cranberry roselle and a red amaranth. Along the border, there's some calendula as well as some basil. some chives, a nasturtium, and then moving more into an area of medicinals. That is self-heal right there, and it is growing backwards beautifully, as well as the yarrow. I do have some gladiolas, and that is my mustard plant that I grew from seed as well. Now this area is a jungle. It is a volunteer jungle. Outside of the perennials that edges this bed here, to the back I planted some sunflower seeds and 2 snapdragons. There are 4 gladiolas here. That is all that I planted either last year or this year. With me knowing that those plants were going to come back, I didn't plant anything else here. There's also some self-heal that lies kind of low. It is ground cover. But all of the tomato plants we see, and there is about 4 different varieties here, those all volunteered. So I plan to just keep an eye on them. I won't prune them, do anything special. They want to be here, so I'm going to leave them. This is my original melon bed, which is why I have my melons on the border for them to trellis down, and my sunflowers to the back, as well as a few pole beans that will kind of climb up the sunflowers and along that fence line, which is where I share my beans with my neighbor. Now this this is supposed to be the 3 sisters. However, it's the 3 sisters and 2 brothers over here. While I do have a zucchini and some bush squash lining the front of this bed, as well as the corn and the pole beans, I have sunflowers and a couple of tomato plants. While I know that the vine borer will take out these plants, when I go to pull them, I will at least have something already growing in that space. So I like to call it the 3 sisters and 2 brothers method for me. Simple, no waste of space. What I am noticing on the bush variety of scallop squash is that's where I'm seeing the heavy powdery mildew. I am not into saving plants. If it gets diseased, powdery mildew that I cannot get rid of, I will just pull a plant and keep on going. As my growing season is really short here, so I don't have time to try and fix plants. We're going to just keep growing. I'll keep you updated on how this method works for me. If you time it just right with the growth of your corn and your beans, they will grow up it and it should be a success. We'll talk about this small area here behind my pole barn, as it is just some cuttings that I house, as well as sweet potatoes in bags and regular potatoes in a bag. This is Tomato Alley. This is my first planting of my tomato plants. We had a few cold snaps, and so I thought they were stunted for a while. There is some leaf curlage, and I did make my spray of non-coated aspirin, 325 milligrams to 1 gallon of water and a little dish soap. I sprayed them, but then it rained that night, so I did go ahead and repeat that. It looks a lot better from the first spraying, and we'll see how it looks today when I check on them after the second spraying, and it didn't rain last night. I will step back and give you a complete look of this area, as well as the areas that we just took a look at. Here's a whole glance. Melon patch, the jungle, over to the medicinals, and my heat-loving crops, all the way down to the collards and sunflowers that we looked at there. We'll take a quick look at the orchard area. In the front here are my first year citrus plants that are potted up. I do see some lemons on the Myers lemons, as well as some new growth on the other citrus plants here. While I don't expect fruit this year, and I will have to take them in, which is why they are potted in the 7-gallon bags, which will make it easy to go in over winter. Now, these particular plants are raspberries and blackberries. They are potted up in 5-gallon bags. They are okay to stay out in my climate over winter. That raspberry plant there, which there's 2 of them, are a few years old. They do produce heavy, so I keep those separate. There's also a volunteer borage sticking out of there. Now, this here is a cherry tree cutting, as well as an elderberry cutting. These 2 blueberries, I'm not sure if they are in shock from being repotted during the middle of the season. They did grow out their original containers that they were potted in, so I had to up-pot them, and again, it was mid-season, so I'm not sure if that's what stunted them or if the weather having so many cold snaps just confused them, but we'll leave them, watch them, and see what they do next year. If they do not come alive next year, then we would probably say, yeah, they are dead. Right in front of there is a dwarf sunflower and a grape that I thought was dead, but it does seem to be coming alive. This here is also my blackberry. I did cover it. That way I am able to enjoy those blackberries before the birds. Next to it is another blueberry. And that's a closer look of that raspberry, as well as a fall gold raspberry. Now, this is an in-ground bed here, and this is where all of my sweet peppers are at. In the middle there are some seeds of flowers that I did see down there. And here on the edge with that trellis is 2 cucumber plants. Along the front of this bed, we'll see a few tomato plants. I like to separate my crops just for if there is a disaster, if an animal tears through an area. I do like to have backups, and I also like to kind of see what grows good where, whether it's in a bag, in a container, in ground, or even in a raised bed. That particular planter is housing a pear melon fruit. This is my first year growing it. The plant is stabilizing now that it's come out and gone in the dirt. I haven't noticed any flowers just yet, but we'll keep our eye on it. That's one that I'm excited about this year. And these bags also house some of my hot pepper plants. And this is an overview of the area that we just looked at here. We'll take a look at a few of those bags that have some hot peppers in as well. They are beginning to flower. The growth is starting to look good. That was one of the first set of flowers that came out. They were stunted for a while. As I mentioned, we had a few cold snaps. Now, that lemon balm there was really huge, so I just did a big harvest of that. And here with the Greenstalks, houses some of my brassicas at the bottom, a few flowers, and on the top are most of my herbs that I use for my tea blends. Many different mints: orange mint, chocolate mint, pineapple mint, grapefruit mint, Thai mint. You name it, I probably have it in a mint. I do have a lemon catnip there, lemon thyme, lemon basil, as well as some lime basil as well. I do have some lemon balm, as well as some mandarin balm, The bigger plants that you see there are perennial. They are medicinal as well. That will be some chervil and romewood. And the smaller plants there that I'm pointing at, that's the mandarin balm that I seeded. Also some stevia as well in there, and a few varieties of lettuces. We will do a Greenstalk tour another time. Thanks for joining me.